You know, so many different creators have worked on the Dick Grayson character in with Nightwing, from Perez to some of the more modern guys. Is there anything in particular that you're proud of with your run on the character that you're really, really, you know, happy with and satisfied with?
I mean, the entire Grayson run is probably my favorite thing we've done with him, which was when we turned him into a super spy, which is not technically Nightwing, but it's definitely Dick Grayson. And that whole thing, I worked with Tom King and the artist Mikhail Hanine and a couple of other creators. Great
use of the skill set, if you think about it, because that's what Batman and Robin really are. They're the elites, you know, spies.
Yeah, and we, you know, I think we get to play with so many things in the DC universe that the Bat universe doesn't normally touch upon, and we had so much fun, and that will always be, I think, the thing I'm proudest of. Also, I think, you know, adding the character of Raptor, who shows up in the first arc of the new Nightwing Rebirth arc, giving Nightwing a villain who's also sort of someone that we as people can understand and relate to, even though he does bad things. That's a touchstone for me too. So
you're so closely identified with the character now. He's been around 70 plus years, right? Dick Grayson.
Sure. Yeah.
He's one of the linchpins of the DC universe for a lot of people. So is it fun to be able to play in that sandbox?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. Dick Grayson was the first action figure I ever got. The 5-year-old me who got, you know, a misplaced MEGO Dick Grayson Robin figure in a Spider-Mobile had known that someday, you know, I'd get to dictate what he does for a living and what he does for his daytime activities and his nighttime activities. It would have blown my mind, you know. And yeah, that part is really cool. And it's sort of going back to the action figure thing. It's a lot like getting together with your friends and coming up with a big crazy, you know, adventure with your toys. Like you throw your toys together and I'm going to put him in this spacesuit, and everyone, you know, whatever. You get to do all these crazy things with these toys that already exist.
So, what are your current projects? What are you continuing to work on that fans can expect to see at the LCS?
Every month I do Nightwing twice, so you have that to look forward to. We're just starting on a big arc with the villain Blockbuster, who we're introducing back into the story. We'll also be doing an arc where we get to see Dick return to Spiral from the Grayson series. So I get to bring back a lot of the crazy elements that I put in there.
Nice confluence of the Grayson and Nightwing worlds.
Yeah, and that was something I've wanted to do since we started the series, to, you know, to meld the spy and the superhero into one story.
For a long time, maybe Dick Grayson didn't get a fair chance, you know, and he got a bad rap in the DC world. You know, creators like Frank Miller's told me, he goes, he never really measured up as a top Robin to him, and I was like, what? Dick Grayson's awesome.
Frank Miller has been right about so many things, but that is not what it is. No, I think. Yeah, I think the character, sometimes there's a reaction against the character because the costume by modern standards of the original Robin can seem silly. I disagree. I think it's great, but I do think that's where some people sort of go, he's got bare legs and chainmail underwear. Like they just don't see beyond that, but the point of the character is so incredibly important, right? I mean, the idea that Batman is a guy who would be, left to his own devices, would go too far. Because his desire to say, you know, his need for revenge is so great that he wouldn't know where to stop. And Dick Grayson comes in there as the guy that can add levity and pulls Batman back and reminds him why it is what he does what he do and who he does it for. I mean, that's a perfect metaphor for all superheroes, right? I mean, I think there's a tendency to want to make superheroes like,
you're 100% right.
You know, into these violent vigilantes who, at a certain point, that story is over, right? At a certain part of that story, that character becomes the villain, and which is fine for a single character. But Dick Grayson becomes what the entire industry of superhero comics needed.